Welcome to the Bridge Church Midweek podcast. We exist to connect people with others and God. We hope this week's episode helps you do just that. Enjoy.
Hello there. This is Pastor Philip Hahn. I'm the children's pastor here at Bridge Church, and I'm excited for you to join us today on the podcast. I'm talking today about one of our pathway tracks. The pathway is seven areas of everybody's life where they should always be growing. And you don't necessarily have to work on all of them all at once, but you find where you're lacking and find the spaces where you could use a little bit more help, and you focus on that. And just really try to grow in that area. When you feel like you're in a good spot with that, you move on to the next pathway. But right now, I'd like to talk about healthy community. Healthy community is one of the 7 basic pathways we feel like every Christian should be growing. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the things that make us hesitant to join bridge groups, including me. I've not always been excited about joining church small groups, and some of the things that held me back in the past, I think, might help you to overcome those hesitations and get involved. But the point is that bridge groups are not Bible studies. And I mean, it's awesome when groups use healthy community to study the word, but that's not really the point. The reason we have bridge groups is for healthy community. A healthy community is a space where you can be real with people, because we all wear masks. You know it. We wear masks at church, at work, probably especially at church, because you really don't have to spill your guts and be totally honest about your deepest, darkest secrets with every stranger you meet at church. I'll be honest, you can't trust everybody you meet with that information, but you still need that healthy community, because those masks prevent us from being healed, from being set free, from having a shoulder to cry on. And when you start wandering in unhealthy directions, there's people calling you out and holding you accountable. When you're vulnerable and let some of your garbage out into the open, you can finally start dealing with it. The point is that you don't have to face life alone. You can enjoy the company of others. You can help them with their issues, and you can get advice or even just a friendly shoulder to vent to. A healthy community, man. I'm telling you, everybody needs a friend, real friends. It's vital for human existence, and how much more as the church. But for me, it can feel very artificial and kind of forced to just like blindly join a bridge group that you don't know and try to be real and vulnerable with this group of strangers. Let's be honest, when you first join, you don't know these people. So it's easier to just put it off or not even look at the bridge groups we have available, because you don't want to face the discomfort of getting to know new people. And I feel you. I feel the same way sometimes. But there's 2 things that I think might help. One key can be find one person. Just one person in the group you connect with, and just be real with that one person. You don't have to spill your deepest struggles with the crowd of a dozen people in somebody's living room, but chances are you're going to make a good connection with at least one person in the group. And that one person is the start of a healthy community. You might even make a connection with a person at church first. Not in a bridge group, but just like in the foyer at church or something. And then just ask if you can be a part of their bridge group. Or if they're not in one, just maybe start a new bridge group between the 2 of you. Another possible key, and you may have heard this before, I'm not sure, I haven't listened to all the podcasts, but you're probably already in a small group. Unofficially, you probably already have a group of people you hang out with. They might not even be Christians, but that group is your community. But the pathway Bridge Church has laid out is not to just have community, but to have healthy community. The only thing you need to make an existing social group into a bridge group is to make what you're doing intentionally Christ-focused. And that can be your golfing group, that can be your hunting group, that can be your baseball group, it can be your knitting group, whatever social group you hang out with all the time, that is already your community. Making it Christ-focused doesn't have to be turning it into a Bible study. You don't have to discuss last week's sermon or walk through a video series, because, it'd probably be pretty weird to sit down with your golfing buddies in the clubhouse and say, hey, by the way, as long as we're together, I'd like to do a deep dive into Ecclesiastes. Let me explain what I mean. When I lived in Minnesota, I was in college, and there was this group, my wife's roommates, and they would hang out every Friday night and just play games. It was game night at their house, and she would hang out with probably about a dozen people. They would come out every Friday night and they'd play games, usually the same games, and that was their social group. Most of them were believers, most of them were Christians, and they encouraged each other, they had fun, they supported each other, they were at each other's weddings when they got married. It was a group, even though no church officially sanctioned it. It wasn't officially part of any church. In fact, they were from all different churches around the community, so that was a social group. When I lived in Chicago, our kids' church leaders were the social group we hung out with. After Sunday night service every week, we would go to Caribou Coffee and we'd play games. That was my social group. It was probably 5 people. Every Sunday night, we'd go to Caribou Coffee and play games. And we got very real with each other. Such close friends that when I moved to Portland, Oregon, I asked my friends from that game group, from my kids' church team, you're an awesome kids' church leader. Would you move to Oregon with me and be my kids' church teacher? And they did. I had 2 friends from that social group that said, you know what? We have such a good connection with you. We want to move all the way across the country so that we can be in your group. And when I lived in Portland, it was the same thing. Sunday nights, our friends came over to our house and we had the same experience, playing games, just goofing off with each other. And I'm still close to those people today. We hold each other accountable. That if you're already hanging with people, it might be time to start letting down your guard. Let down some of the barriers and walls and just get real with each other. And when you start to open up and you're honest about what's really going on in your life, you'll be surprised how much people respect you for that and respond by doing the same thing. Now you're starting to see the things that go on in a bridge group. So if you're already in a small group, like your hunting buddies or your knitting group, fine. If you don't have a social group to connect with yet, we really do offer some great group options for you from Bridge Church. But the point is, get into healthy community. It might just be finding that one person to start getting vulnerable, or it might be adding an intentional focus on Christ into the group you already hang out with. But when these things grow to a point where Bridge Church can come alongside you and help you build an official bridge group, you'll find it's not nearly as intimidating or uncomfortable as you thought. You will find that bridge groups become your lifeline, and you won't have to do life alone anymore. It's been really important in my life, and you'll find it'll be really important in yours. We all need healthy community. So be intentional about it. Go out and make it happen.